Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is Tuesday, March 30th, 2021, 8:50 a.m. So as we look at where we're at, the ES has just come in and missed its all-time high, right, and is bleeding off a little bit from there. As we look at the other indices, right, the Russell continued even yesterday, right? It's still selling every time it hits this zone that's between 22.15 and 22.31, right? It's since it lost. This is where it should have got a bid from, right? So it lost it once, twice, now three times. It's going to take out this low or come very close to it before it can ever get back up above that level. Is what I would guess. So one thing that it could, stop right around this 21.32.20. We'll see today, but I expect the Russell to keep bleeding lower now. And looking at the ES, right, it just missed its high and it's bleeding off a little bit. We'll see if it holds 39.28 half. I talked about this yesterday that when we were having these rallies, what I'd like to see is as we were falling, right, places that should be support were being retested and becoming resistance. Falling, retested, becoming resistance, right? We're not seeing resistance passed over, then retested to become support. That can be problematic. You want to see that to mean that the trend has changed. Until then, it was just basically a bullshit short squeeze. So until we see that pattern develop, I'm not too enamored with anything except for the Dow, right? The Dow's been beating it to its own drum ever since Tesla and Bitcoin have become a problem on and off. The Dow's the only one that's not tied to that, so it's marching up. And plus, there is the theory that people are rotating into the blue chips. So we beat this up a little bit, so we'll see what happens with the NASDAQ. It's still stuck between this zone. So I think, it has a high chance of breaking out of it either way. I'm not going to lean too heavily one way or another. Getting below 12,700 should be resistance once it falls below. And then getting back above 13,170 is really the line in the sand that the NASDAQ needs to break above and hold. So looking at our Tesla watch, since we come back over, the left side of this is a draw for the short sequence. The right side was a draw for the up sequence coming out of that low. I'm not going to take this draw off until it breaks under this 78.6, which I'm going to just call it as 575. If this prints 575 or below, I will take this off. So what I'm looking for is Tesla to make incremental lower lows down to basically 500 or 455. Otherwise, it's going to get a bid somewhere in here and just take the shorts back out for a little while. It's still got that resistance, and I would still be watching now 677, which is the 38.2 short, which lines up with that 21.4 short as well. That should have been holding long. That's not. So looking at the overnight action, a whopping 26 points for the ES. Looking at where the level 4s are for the day, we can see we can go down to 38.80 on the level 4As or up to 40.38. So as we look at that range, one thing to keep a note or in mind, I guess I should say, we had this spike up late Friday, right? We're still holding this spike up for that last 30 minutes from 3:30 to 4 o'clock Eastern time. We held it all yesterday. We held it so far. We haven't come close to breaching that in the overnight session, and we're just sitting here treading water. The ES really isn't going to do too much to the downside, right, until it can breach that level. And then, there's lots of support underneath that level. I don't think it's just going to be a massive liquidation flush down if it does go that way. And keep in mind, since we're still just basically treading water in this last 30 minutes from Friday, ever since, excuse me, Sunday night session has opened. Everything's still on the table. Basically, this is a bull flag. Don't get me wrong for the ES. So, looking at all the indexes, the Russell had single prints above yesterday that held, and quite a bit of resistance. And it's coming into now what would be support below that dates back to basically the 25th. So as we look at that support below, that's going to come in at 2141.10, and we'll see if it can hold there. Getting below the bottom edge of this box, which is basically 2126.60, that should be resistance after that point that it gets below there. Looking at where everyone is, right? The Russell is below yesterday's low, but bouncing just ahead of that support zone below. The Nasdaq is at value area low at the point of control from yesterday. The ES is at value area low. The point of control from yesterday is up at 39.61. So one thing to watch for today's session, if the high of the day after the bell rings is 30.60 something, but it can't get to 30.61, that's going to be very bearish. So breaking above 61 will at least negate the very bearish out of it and make it at least a chop day. And then looking at the Dow, it's just sitting in value. So basically in value, at value area low, under value area low as we go across. The name of my title of my video is Chop, a leg lower, or window dressing. So chop is what we had yesterday. A leg lower, we all know what that would be. We're going to close below yesterday's lows and at least test below those levels. Or window dressing. So window dressing is when the fund managers, this is the end of the quarter, when they try to look like geniuses. So they have to share with the public what positions they were holding on their quarterly report, right? So if they have a bunch of losing positions, right, they want to sell those, which will make the losers go lower, which will make the stock market go lower if they're a big portion of the stock market, right? Like the FANG stocks, right? So if they want to show they don't have those, they have to sell those. That would be a big drag on the ES and the NASDAQ. So any winners that they have to show that they were geniuses and had those. So they will buy those, making the up stocks go farther up. So you'll get that further divergence, I think, today and tomorrow of the quarterly losers going lower and the quarterly winners going higher, which should fuel the rotation, which should favor the Dow, to be honest with you. So we'll see how that plays out. Keep in mind that's what window dressing would look like. So chop, right? Just kind of like yesterday, we don't get to take out these lows. We just kind of bounce around where we've been. The leg lower, we start accelerating down for the ES and the NASDAQ, right? Get that leg lower just for the window dressing. And the Dow kind of stays neutral. I wouldn't expect the Dow to close below yesterday's low. I hope this helps. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.